football in the NFL. The story is that man, the Colts and their quarterback, Indiana Jones. Head coach Shane Steichen naming Jones his team starter, opting for the veteran over the first-round pick from a few years ago, Anthony Richardson. This decision just the latest in a long line, and I mean long, of quarterback dominoes to fall for the Colts in recent years. Just look at all the starters they've had since Andrew Luck stunned everyone with his retirement in 2019. So here's their coach, Shane Steichen, yesterday asked about his priorities and the permanence of this decision.
I thought the competition in training camp was great by both.
So that's Anthony Richardson with his reaction, the right one to have, I guess, in the locker room. His agent, however, later, Derek Jackson, said trust is a big factor, and that is at best questionable right now. So those are the relationships as we know them. If you're just joining us, in our first hour, we talked at length about how we got here, whether this is a failure, all sorts of things. I want to spin it forward now. I have two questions that I think are most germane. Anthony Richardson was the fourth pick in the draft 3 years ago. Do you believe at this point, Louis Riddick, his time in Indianapolis is over?
Yeah, I do. I think, look, you're talking about the fourth pick of the draft. You know, his agent is talking about trust. Well, maybe the Indianapolis Colts are kind of saying the same thing. The coaching staff saying the same thing, like, hey, we didn't tap out of the game. Hey, we're not the one who told him, hey, you know what, maybe you shouldn't. These are all questions surrounding Anthony Richardson right now during his time in Indianapolis. These are all things he's going to have to take accountability for right now. And I think he's going to have to display these, I believe, somewhere else. Unless this season goes horribly wrong, a new coach, new regime comes in, and there are people who, look, we know that this exists. There are people around the league who maybe a coach comes in and goes, look, I was a believer in him. Yeah. I'm going to continue to see if I can develop him. That's the only way I see this happening. I don't see it happening under this regime. I think his time is done with these guys.
He's 23 years old.
23. His time is done with the Colts. And I think we have to be honest. His time is done because he lost support in the building. In order to be drafted fourth overall, somebody has to stand on the table for you when you have the amount of reps that Anthony Richardson has, when you have the lack of production overall that Anthony Richardson has. Somebody in that building had to say, this is our guy. I believe we can develop him. And what happens is if you get to this point, right, just 3 years later, that means that you lost that person. And not only did you lose that person, you haven't picked up anyone else in the building that's willing to stake their job on the fact that you are responsible enough, that you can be accountable enough, and that they can trust you enough to do your job in a professional manner that allows this team to win football games. When you think about Shane Steichen, a huge reason that he got the job was because of what he did with a young Justin Herbert, because of what he did with a young Jalen Hurts, right? We watch these players reach full potential, ascend, get better. So Shane Steichen knows how to coach football, which is why I was so excited about the pairing with Anthony Richardson and the talent he has. Shane Steichen right now doesn't feel that as good as I am at getting quarterbacks to play well, I can get him to play well. And if you can't trust him to do that, and you move on to Daniel Jones at this point and double down on that. This is Daniel Jones's team. Anthony Richardson
he's telling you something by that. He's telling you something by saying that.
It's such a unique situation because he's 23. Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts had played a ton of college football, right? Anthony Richardson had not when he got into the NFL. So it's an odd situation. You go back to Carolina last year, they benched Bryce Young early in the season for Andy Dalton. They said that was for the whole season. Then Dalton gets injured in a car accident and Bryce gets the job back, and now he's got it again. Yeah. Like, these things do happen, right? But I would have thought Bryce Young was done in Carolina.
And I know you know this, but Bryce Young won the Heisman, just to remind everybody. I went back to my notes on Anthony Richardson from when he was drafted. He started 13 games, and his last one, he was 9 of 27 against Florida State. There were major questions about him being drafted this high to begin with.
There's one thing about skill development, as you're talking about, and about time on task, time in the cockpit, as I like to say. I think, though, what this is coming down to, what Shane is staking his decision on, and I think the real point of contention here is, does he have the football character that would allow him to iron out some of those developmental lumps that he has?
So I guess,
do we trust that? And it doesn't. They don't. Otherwise, why? Like considering like if you look at this statistically and you look at some of the throws that he made this preseason, you can make a case for him saying, "Hey, look, maybe we should give him some more time."
Hell yeah!
But what they're doing is they're saying we don't trust it over the long haul.
So I guess the next turn in that story is how does he handle this, right? Like what do you see from him now in practice and in meetings? Like does it? But I still go back to 23 and week 18 is a long time.
Man, look
from
at
now.
this.
Like this.
Look at this.
People can't make this throw. That is ridiculous. But the Colts are saying the upside that this presents is not worth the risk that he also comes with. The thing to remember is he was 27th. Anthony Richardson was 27th in QBR last year. You know who was 26th? Daniel Jones. Like, it's possible that Daniel Jones does not give them what they want.
Very
and they
possible.
Go back to Anthony Richardson.
I know what Daniel Jones don't give him.
What is
that?
Like,
He don't give them that.
Nobody does. There's nobody
He
who
don't
can do that.
And that's the so to me is like how bad do you have to be at everything else if you can do that?
Well, one of the things he's been bad at is staying on the field, and that's been a big part.
But you know what? But true. But you know what, Dan? No. But you know what, Dan? No. I'm telling you, my gut is that is not the issue. They're not worried about if we put him out there, he's going to get hurt. They're worried about.
That's not my point.
I know. I'm just saying, like, this is literally about can we count on this dude?
Right. My point on the injuries is it has deprived him of the playing time that they felt he needed to advance to where they hoped.
Which is also why tapping out against Houston is such a big deal.
Yeah.
Right. The belief that we know that you need these reps, and the fact that you know you need these reps. Why would you ever waste one? There are people in the world who would give limbs for that opportunity. And instead of you saying, even though I'm tired, even though I don't know how to figure this out, I'm going to check myself out of this game, which is important to us at an important moment because I'm more concerned with me as an individual than I am the entire team.
Just juxtapose this.
That's hard for people to forget.
Yeah.
So when you go get Daniel Jones, to me then, Lou, you had already made this decision.
No doubt.
Let's remind everyone what this moment is, because not everyone remembers. You see the date. It was late October last year. Anthony Richardson, after that play, taps the helmet, which is the sign for take me out of the game. You usually see it from a wide receiver after he runs a long route or a running back. Every football player I have spoken to, including both of you, said you had never seen a quarterback do that in a game.
And I haven't. Just flat out haven't. And
so this is
there's just no way to really kind of explain.
I did want to get one more thing in here. And look, obviously this inspires a lot of emotion because the Anthony Richardson thing, it's a big deal because there were so many pieces of this that a lot of people saw coming. The other one is this. Our buddy Pat McAfee, who is as big a Colts fan as you will ever meet, tweeted yesterday, Danny Dimes about to run wild for Indy, #Hello Lombardi. Maybe that's a touch of hyperbole, but stranger things have happened than Daniel Jones playing really well for this team, right? If you had told me Sam Darnold was going to play the way he played last year, if you had told me Baker Mayfield was going to be resurrected and become one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL, the idea that in an offense that has a lot of good players and good running and good offensive line and a good coach in theory, that Daniel Jones is going to play pretty well for them, far stranger things have happened, no?
Well, you better bring 11 here. You know who 11 is?
No.
The star of Stranger Things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you
I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you think Daniel Jones is going to turn this organization around and make it a championship caliber organization, you are out of your mind. And to me, and this is not an indictment that Daniel Jones can't be a good player. Yeah. Daniel Jones can't be a great player.
Right.
Daniel Jones doesn't have that sort of ceiling. And so in hour one, when Dan said this is a floor thing, that's what I believe. Yeah. I believe Shane Steichen, and we have all said this, right? Honestly, this all starts because one of the best quarterback prospects to ever live, Andrew Luck, retires early.
Right.
And they felt like at that time they were a quarterback away. Yep. So they've been trying to piece together quarterbacks, whether it's Phillip Rivers, whether it's Matt Ryan, to find somebody who can play well enough based on a roster that they believe is championship caliber. Daniel Jones not that guy.
No.
So this has to be, we're trying to figure out how to not be bad, and maybe we eke into the playoffs and we can find a franchise quarterback.
The worst thing, the thing that scares scouting departments the most, the very most, are people who aren't committed to the game. If they question your football character, that is the number one sin. That's the thing you cannot miss on. You can miss on skill. How sometimes guys run afoul of the law, outside of the football building, and they may have others, circumstances that wind up affecting some of their decision making that isn't good. But if they question your football character, it's a wrap. And they're questioning it in Indianapolis.
Can I make one more terrible joke? So Indiana Jones, as we're calling Daniel Jones now, they play the Raiders in Week 5. Should that game be for the Lost Ark?
What is this we?
Indiana
No,
Jones.
who we're calling him.
Indiana Jones.
Only one person is calling him that.
I'm
Like in the
proud
whole
to be
world.
that person. Okay, drive me off this picture. Coming up after the Bengals defense struggled last year, we'll tell you the one aspect on offense that could hold Joe Burrow back from hoisting the Lombardi. That's on the way. And then Arch says, I'm my own Manning.